channel here over at SubScribestar, now over at Odyssey. So Rings of Power is a massive woke failure, and another some left-wing article about it says the lesson is listen to women. No, absolutely not. Listening to women is kind of how we got here. The 19th was a mistake. So Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power showrunner attacks Tolkien fans as viewers abandon the show en masse. Good plan, Cotton. How's that going to work out for you? I mean, this is just... Listen, if you saw the other Rings of Power videos, you can just tune out. This is going to be very repetitive because they themselves are following the same cycle of do something stupid, put it out on the internet, and then, oh, God, look at all this Islamophobicism we're getting back. It's, who was that Star Wars guy who played Obi-Wan Kenobi? Obi-Wan Kenobi? Yeah, in one of the streaming shows. And he's sitting in his car, and he's because one of the chicks, there was some black chick in the show who played the bad guy. I guess people weren't on board with it. God, admit I didn't see watching Disney, you like have to pay me to watch it. And he's whining in the car about, oh, everyone is Islamophobic. And so people who are on the fence watching this show, as soon as they hear they're being attacked, like if it doesn't apply, let it fly. It doesn't work like that. You know, this is some soy boy douchebag actor in his gated community is talking down to you, like, get screwed. And they do this all the time. They do this in whether comics or movies or video games. Where in 2022 when this cancer came out, the original actors from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, they come out on Twitter and they do little videos and they do some posts, and honestly they look like hostage victims, and they're all getting together and they have some t-shirts. It's like the Force is female, but the Amazon equivalent about Amazon is, or Lord of the Rings is open to everyone. It's like, but that's just not true. That's what gaslighting is. You're saying things that are not true. Lord of the Rings is based on European mythology. It's based on the European people. It's on Tolkien's small-town life, his experience in the war. It was 100 years ago. It was a different world. It's very firmly rooted in European mythology to the point where some of the names are taken from earlier stories. You doing this hostage video where you're wearing t-shirts about all the different elf ears colors or whatnot, but that's not in Tolkien. This is Amazon propaganda, and I'm guessing they got you together and probably sent some dwarven gold your way to get you to do that. Anyway, so listen to women. Fuck no. And I heard that all the directors on Lord of the Rings are just different women coming along and making this cancer. So Rings of Power is failing because it's not coming from an organic place, and even the mentally unstable soy left-wingers are not watching it, and they're defending it on Twitter, and these people get so outraged about people saying it's not good. And they go, no, it's good. You just don't like it. There's a big difference. Looks around, yeah, apparently there's a whole lot of people who don't like it. What do you think that is? The left wing, women, blacks, any group has the power to make a movie a success. Or gays with what's that Kurt Eichenwald gay movie that came out, Bros or something. I saw about 5 minutes of it, and it will just make you sick to your stomach. It's so graphically disturbing. They could make a movie successful. If a movie is, like, the smallest community is probably going to be the BLT community. And even though that movie was like $30 million, way overfunded for a movie that's only going to sell to a very small audience. He was hoping to break out of the audience. The thing is, there's enough of the gay community, and they're kind of hangers-on, whoever's kind of very far left-wing would go see that, to make that movie a success, even though it was like a $30 million movie with like $20 million in advertising. So it ended up losing like $40 million or some ridiculous amounts of money. And the guy was so pissed that it lost money. But I mean, you made a graphic same-sex movie that 99% of the audience looks at and just like, yeah, we're just biologically wired to not be on board with this. But they could have made it a movie. The reason the movie failed is because the left wing, the BLT audience didn't see it. And any small group in America can make a movie a massive success. And you look at this history over the past 10 years of these woke feminist girl power type of movies that have just repeatedly bombed. Well, there's enough women to make these movies hits. They're not watching the movies. They want to see something. They're into different movies. Like, And the thing is, whoever people make movies, they know what the female audience is on board with. They know they're not going to be on board with Terminator or Charlie's Angels or all that kind of stuff. So people are just done with girl power movies, and the audience desire for annoying, strong women who don't need no man. Turns out that is massively overestimated, and the proof is anything from Disney, really. All the Star Wars series, all the Marvel series, Acolyte, She-Hulk, Ahsoka, the Marvels, Captain Web, the Eternals, Black Widow, Charlie's Angels, and there's probably a bunch more that I'm forgetting that have just they're just black holes that they're throwing money down. And the Terminator made with women, but there's no Terminator or John Connor. It's like, isn't the whole story universe based around John Connor? Instead, they use, I think, a Mexican girl for some reason to replace John Connor. Nobody watches it. And the girl power, the thing is, the girl power movies that the chicks are on board with are something like Barbie, even if it was a woke version of Barbie. And the history of Barbie, I did a video on the other platforms for it. Original history is very dark. But what it was on the surface for that movie was two beautiful blonde people were able to make $1.5 billion movie, and they looked like they were out of Nordic Central Casting. And somebody on Twitter was posting pictures of Rings of Power, and they were freeze framing it, and they go, look, every image we freeze frame is beautiful. Yes, that's right. The cinematography is fantastic, but it's better with the sound off. Is essentially your argument. It looks great. Lord of the Rings has always looked great. You have this fantasy universe, and it's 25 years after the original CGI. It's like the CGI better be very good, or film it in New Zealand or whatnot. But it's the storyline. It's like that's the issue with almost everything is the writing, and these writers are like this is a choice. But the thing is, these people, the writers, the directors, the producers, they're so deep in this echo chamber that they think, because they're coming from their own community of like film school, film college degrees, and then the artsy fartsy community, and they're so far removed from fans of Tolkien. Like, these are not fans of Lord of the Rings or Tolkien, or the people who make Star Wars. They're not fans of Lucas. They hate Lucas. They hate the original Star Wars, and they hate Lord of the Rings because it's a European mythology. This is part of the humiliation ritual of a conquered people. Is to take something like this and deconstruct it. Frankfurt School 101, which means make it lame and gay and put a chick in it. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty much what they did. And it sells to absolutely no one, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is the humiliation ritual. But these they make this propaganda, and then they get so offended when people reject it. And even before you don't even have to get into this kind of deep right versus left politics, because much of the reason that this has lost, I think, 3/4 of its audience in season 2, episode 5 or 6, whatever the last one was, is because it's not Tolkien, but it uses the name, which is even more insulting. And here specifically, they turned it into, obviously, left-wing cancer. But if they had turned it into right-wing propaganda, if they had taken it, it is a right-wing story because it's an ethno-nationalist, Natal-based tribe of the blood type of story. It's I'm talking with my hands. It's classic storytelling that goes back thousands of years of furthering the tribe. That's why it hits so hard with people, because people are very tribal. So if you took it and you went even further right wing, it would probably still work, and you'd probably make money, and you'd have an audience because you're going in the direction it's already going in, because it is right wing in the sense of it's nationalist. But to make it globalist, those are 180 degrees from each other. They're as above, so below. The left hand, the right hand path. It's like, the sinister, the dexterous, all that stuff, that symbolism of the right hand versus the left hand. It's been repeated throughout history because you see this kind of parasitical subversion and corruption. And one of the best examples is in the books, not the movies, the books, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, the last part of Return of the King. You can just go crack that and read the last 50 pages for the battle and the ceremony, but then they have to go back and chase the Bolsheviks out of their town. It was a fantastic piece of writing, because he didn't just make it a fantasy story. He made it about his experience in the war. But when the men are away fighting these wars, they have to come back and clean up the town, because these subversive, corrupting worms, these in Constantine, where there's a bunch of scorpions and cockroaches and just the most disgusting things found under rocks that form that anthropomorphic demon. that's what enters into a town. These filthy, filthy communist parasites. And in Return of the King, the hobbits come back to town. They start shouting, "Fire! Alert! Alarm!" Whatever they were shouting, and they got the pitchforks and they got the helicopters out, and they taught them that gravity is 9.8 meters per second. They tried to teach them to fly successfully, not yet. So the audience is not on board with this. Hey, girl power, you should smile more. You really should smile more, because this, whatever you're doing, is not selling. To use the name Lord of the Rings and then give you this Amazon Weimar level cringe is them saying that they know better than the artist, Tolkien. They don't. He's a master storyteller, obviously, and he's the creator. Only the creator can improve on his story. It like, this shouldn't be such a contentious thing to say, where it's a left versus right thing. It's like the left gets so vag-hurt over this because they know it's a left versus. They know this is globalist propaganda. That's why they get offended about it. But they're not offended about it enough to go watch it and give it the watch time it needs, or any of the other streaming shows that are, hey, Rosie Dawson doing some whatever. Wait, wasn't she also in Flash? No, Daredevil. Wasn't she also in Daredevil? What am I thinking of? But they don't actually watch the stuff. It's like, that's all you have to do. Hey, go watch who's Visaggio? Brian Visaggio's Vagrant Queen or something. It's punk rock. It's Kim and Kim. Yeah, nobody watches it. Anyway, they bought the rights to Lord of the Rings, and then they changed it. They didn't make something original, and they say, oh, we're going to update it to make it diverse and inclusive. So they're saying that the original story doesn't stand the test of time, or it doesn't connect to a non-European audience, which is bizarre, because you bought the rights to the story because it precisely stood the test of time, and people around the world loved the books and the movies, and they don't have to be English or Irish or whoever the Hobbits were based on to love it. They just thought it was good because it felt organic in a way that did stand the test of time, because you were willing to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to the Tolkien estate to make this kind of abomination. And to the estate of Tolkien, if somebody's walking up with a $250 million check, it's like, you just have to take it. It's like, oh yeah, we're not just gonna hold our nose, and who knows, they might be woke as well. So Peter Jackson's movies were only like 20 years ago, and people obviously loved them. So the idea of didn't like the Hobbit so much. Why is there a black chick in this village? Listen, Nazis. Listen, don't ask questions. Just accept the soy slop and consume and move on. So the idea of changing the story to fix their Marxist worldview does not make a whole lot of sense. And you gotta be almost childlike and look at Rings of Power and just keep asking, so why did they do these things? Why did they race swap the characters? And their answer is, oh, well, some Frankfurt School nonsense about inclusivity, but that wasn't the artist's intent. The artist, I had a science professor who said science is, and period over it. The artist's intent was what he wrote. And the best you can do is follow that as closely as possible. Why would Amazon think they know better than the creator of the story? If they made Rings of Power as close as the original Tolkien as they could, like Jackson said in his interviews, it would have sold better. So why did they create these woke changes that the audience doesn't want? Because even the original, we're going to compare the cuts in half during the in 1 second, you'll see it. Even the original numbers were not, for the first season in 2022, were not amazing. They took a break, a little hiatus, because I guess they were scared of the Wu flu or something. Lame. Because Amazon is saying they know better than all these people, which is stupid, because the numbers are not supporting them, and the show is a bomb. The audience doesn't want to erase the European people that the story is based on, because that was the organic story. The story relied on family connections and village life. The strongest family connections are your own tribe. As soon as you see Euro and African hobbits, it destroys the story. And that shouldn't be politically incorrect to say, or maybe it is, but more people just need to say the truth, because this stuff obviously is not in a vacuum. We know the feelings of a strong tribe. It's what the books are based on, and the Jackson movies did a good job of showing that. We can look around today and obviously see the failure of this kind of unnecessary conflict and friction that goes along when you try to go against the natural order. Are the Hobbits going to have years of Hobbit Lives Matter riots where they burn the Shire and well, I guess they're not going to loot shoes because they don't wear any. But you get the point. People want a little escapism, and they're tired of woke propaganda. We're not globalists, and most of the audience isn't either. Most people are organically very fierce, nationalist, blood tribe type of stuff. It's only there's a study on only white liberals have outgroup preference, and it's performative because some guy did an analysis of it. Everyone has in-group preference except for white liberals, and they say we just treat everyone equally. But because they have outgroup preference, it shows that they're virtue signaling because they're making a subconscious decision to not treat people equally. If they treated people equally, then the distribution of their in-group and out-group preference would be balanced. It's not. They have out-group preference. They've decided they've fallen for this globalist propaganda that has been multi-generational. It's a kind of another video. But people are very much tired of it. So it's only the liberals. There's a thing. Actually, I heard Diversity in Comics say years ago. The right wing understands the left wing because a lot of us were left wingers. We're able to sympathize and empathize with their viewpoints. It's like creating an image in your brain of someone else's perspective, like from a computer. But the left wing doesn't understand the right wing. The left wing thinks that the right wing are monsters, and then you start asking them like what they think right wing beliefs are, and they think it's the silliest things on earth. We're not globalists, and most of the audience isn't either because the show is bombing. Anyway, so I thought this was going to be a short video because none of this is organic. Amazon cannot keep this going. Well, I guess they could keep this going all 5 years if they wanted to. I mean, it wouldn't really matter. If it fails, it fails. They didn't make this to make money. This isn't about money, and Amazon has, this is just a drop in the bucket for the artificial intelligence and shipping company that is Amazon. They're not so much a creative, artsy-fartsy type of company. So they're not stupid. They're evil. There's a big difference. They hate European people and their stories. They value race as long as it's not European. And they'll bend over backwards to erase you every chance they get, even if they have to lose billions of dollars to do it. And it's not just Amazon. It's Disney and Netflix and all these other companies. Your almonds should be activating by now. Anyway, you got to know that these movie companies are making propaganda to degrade and dehumanize you. Nobody wants to watch different tribes of dwarves that are put together when it doesn't make sense, when they're so visibly different. People are not fans of that because it destroys, I'm saying that very carefully, it destroys a connection to the past. It kills a story because it makes a rootless new tribe that's not connected to either tribe. It doesn't have a past. It doesn't have a future. It just makes them easily susceptible to the dark forces of the Lord of the Rings universe. So for any of the elves, hobbits, and dwarves that are clearly different ethnicities, how exactly are they part of the same tribe? There's a scene in the season 1 where the Black Hobbit, the Euro Hobbit, and the Afro Hobbit are like hands on shoulder talking to each other, and the Black Hobbit is telling the White Hobbit about like, we don't do this. I'm like, where the fuck is this we coming from? You're not a tribe together. You're not all from the same shire because you visibly look different. Am I autistic, or the Willing Suspense just maybe a little, but the Willing Suspense just doesn't go this far. Why do you look different? You just have to keep asking that with like a childlike questioning, and just don't accept their answers until you get an answer. It's like, oh, because we hate you. When we hate the story, and we hate Tolkien, and we hate English people, and it's like, yeah, all right, that's the original. So they want to erase the European people for their own stories. Listen, Marxists, European lives matter. We don't want to be replaced in our own stories. Why would we? Why don't you do this to any other? Hey, Shaka Zulu. Yeah, and it's it's some whoever playing the role of the Maasai warriors. So, hey, it's a Swedish Shaka Zulu, and Panda's gonna be one of his sons is it's gonna be Japanese, and Setiwayo will be. You get the idea. It's like, but that's ridiculous. This is clown world. What's I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Listen, bigot. Yeah, I get the ad hominem, the straw man, the deflection, all that reduction ad absurdum, whatever. I get all those logical fallacies. Yes. But why do you do this? And all they have is, listen, Hugo Boss, yeah, that's not selling. I mean, people don't care anymore. You can call people istophobic all you want. People are like that. I don't even believe in the concept anymore. Nobody wants a black elf because it's not in Tolkien's original story. The elves are based on the Scandinavians. I don't think it's the sub-Saharans have an elf mythology. I don't think there's any kind of anything like elves and dwarves. Yes, they do have a dwarf connection because everyone has, dwarves, but they don't. I don't think they have an elf in their mythology. So the thing is, Scandinavians, well, they're a distinct ethnic group, and people are not fungible. They've got millions of these connections through time and space, and to erase the beautiful blonde, blue-eyed people of the light and replace it with someone from 10,000 miles away, it kills the story. Because, and like I say this as almost as like a child, they visibly look different on screen. I'm not buying it because I'm not some San Francisco artsy fartsy $200,000 AMG driving, Napa Valley cruising person who pretends to believe all this stuff. I just go, oh, this doesn't make sense. There's no black elves, there's no black hobbits. How dare you? And if you said that to a lot of group of these people, they would, I don't know, maybe at first they'd pretend to get offended, but then you can, like in person, people are obviously much different than on social media where they're virtue signaling for their audience. If you put a Swedish actor in the role of that, who's the black elf, just like a Swedish guy, a blonde hair, blue eyed dude, so they all look like they're from the same tribe, that would kind of make sense. It's like, no, we're gonna have a black guy, and there's gonna be a dumb blonde guy in the first episode, first season, in a bar, and he's gonna call him Knife Ears. I'd be very careful here. I don't want to have a alliterative slip of the tongue. It's like, yeah, we get it. You're so subtle. Knife ears. You're making fun of a physical characteristic as a pejorative. It's just subtle as a nitromethane burning tractor rolling down a mountain. It's so stupid. You're making fun of him because of a physical feature, not his skin color. No, not his ethnicity. His ears, because you're human and he's elf's got pointed. Yeah, we get it. That's so stupid. It's really hard not to swear. We use a bunch of other epithets that I need to use to really express myself. We don't value globalist anti-white stories. Why would we? We're awesome. We value ourselves much more than ever before. Oh, wow. This is going on quite long. The thing is, it's not just me saying this. Some far-right extremists talking about Lord of the Rings. Yeah, the left-wingers aren't watching it either, and suddenly when you bring that up to them, they get so offended on Twitter. You go, so how come you guys aren't watching it? How come the numbers don't show up for all these, either girl power or the race-swap characters, The Witcher or Willow or... God, so Willow, if you can find that online. I don't know who produced that. Or what's the other one? Robert Jordan's book, Wheel of Time. Books. I think there's like dozens of books, and they're all like 500 pages long or something. And they did the same. They race swapped all this stuff. But Willow, go watch a couple episodes of that. It is bizarre. It is bizarre, and it could have been good. I mean, they had a budget. They had sets. They have costumes. They have everything. It's just. So can we race swap all these characters and make them all like European so they work? And look at you like you're crazy good. But that's the original story. If you want to write some new story in some fantasy setting with the diverse... Oh, that doesn't exist because there is no diverse fantasy setting because that's not how humans evolved. There is no ancient connection with a diverse setting. Because it's 180 degrees from human... it's like the Star Trekking of mythology, and it's all astroturfed. And I know to use Star Trek as a pejorative is probably triggering for some, but like Star Trek was very science fiction-y. Just very, very fiction-y. And subversive. Was it Gene Roddenberry? Subversive in its own way. I will say the books were good because visually they're not putting all the race in front of your face. The audience is not on board with this because it's not Tolkien's work. And just like a child, you just keep repeating this and go, but this isn't Tolkien, this is Amazon. But you're using the name of Tolkien, so you're baiting people with the name, and then you're switching it up with this globalist Frankfurt School Marxist propaganda. See, I can use all the buzzwords too, and they get really triggered when you use all that kind of, those kind of buzzwords, and they want to be very careful about definitions and get you to define things. And it's like, you can't define women. You can't ask me to define Marxism if you literally can't define one of the two sexes. And they can't. They go, you have one joke, yeah, but it works because you never. Most left wingers don't have the balls. Just, oh, it's an adult human female. What's But they can't do that because they don't know. If a Supreme Court judge is afraid to give the definition, it's like, we're in deep, we're up poop creek and it's raining assholes. Anyway, they're gonna keep making this movies. This stuff, video games. Concord lost a few $100 million. They don't care because none of this is about money. They will go bankrupt before they turn this around. They're hoping that they can get the audience on board before they go bankrupt, but they're willing to go bankrupt because it's this machine. There's no one person who can turn this around when the whole machine is taken over by this parasitical woke mind virus. Even if, like at Disney with Bob Iger, though he's going to be replaced with somebody, if he wanted to turn things around, he would have his work cut out for him. Because there's thousands of people who are at the top, or hundreds of people at least, who are at the top who would all have to be fired. And I mean, it would be like a hostile takeover within your own company. It's like the probability is just more likely that the company will go bankrupt or be bought out by somebody else. Anyway, Apple/Disney. We'll see. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.